I was 29 years old when I realized I had been living a lie my entire adult life. The woman I thought I was going to marry, the woman I had spent 3 years of my life chasing, supporting, and loving unconditionally, looked me dead in the eyes and said 5 words that shattered my reality. You're just not man enough. But here's the devastating truth I discovered. She was right. There are 7 things I did for her that I thought made me the perfect boyfriend. 7 things that every good guy does, thinking he's doing the right thing. 7 things that women will accept, but that kill their attraction stone dead. And what I'm about to tell you will either save your relationship or destroy every illusion you have about what women actually want. Because everything you think you know about attracting women is wrong. My name is Maxwell, and for most of my adult life, I thought I was the perfect boyfriend material. I had a good job, a nice car, I was respectful, kind, and I treated women like queens. I opened doors, paid for everything, listened to their problems for hours, and never pressured them for anything physical. But here's the first lesson I learned the hard way. Female psychology lesson number 1. Women don't want to be treated like queens. They want to feel feminine energy in contrast to masculine energy. I met Grace at a coffee shop 3 years ago. She was struggling with her laptop, and like the good guy I was, I offered to help. We talked for 2 hours that day. She laughed at my jokes, touched my arm when she spoke, and gave me her number without me even asking. I thought I had won the lottery. But here's what I didn't understand then. That moment in the coffee shop, that was the peak of her attraction to me. And every single thing I did afterward, every nice gesture, every gift, every time I bent over backward to make her happy, was actually destroying that attraction piece by piece. But why? What was I doing wrong when I was being the perfect gentleman? Our first date was at an expensive restaurant downtown. I had made reservations weeks in advance, bought her flowers, and showed up in my best suit. I was determined to impress her. During dinner, I hung on every word she said. When she mentioned she was stressed about work, I immediately offered to help her with her projects. When she said she was having car trouble, I volunteered to take her car shopping that weekend. When she seemed unsure about the wine selection, I deferred to whatever she preferred. I thought I was being considerate. What I was actually doing was something called approval seeking, and it's attraction poison. Female psychology lesson number 2. When a man constantly seeks a woman's approval, she unconsciously perceives him as lower value and loses respect. By the end of that first date, something had shifted. I could feel it. Her energy was different, more polite, more distant, but I convinced myself I was overthinking it. She agreed to a second date, so everything was fine, right? Wrong. The second date was mini golf. I thought it would be fun and casual, but when we started playing, Grace began showing this confident, slightly competitive side. Instead of matching her energy, I immediately softened myself. When she trash-talked my putting skills, instead of playfully firing back, I laughed nervously and complimented her technique. When she accidentally hit the ball too hard and it went off course, I rushed to help her instead of letting her handle it. When she suggested we make the game interesting with a small bet, I insisted it was just for fun because I didn't want her to feel bad if she lost. What I didn't realize is that I was making a fatal mistake. When a woman shows her strong, confident side, and Grace was being playful and competitive, she's not asking you to get weaker. She's testing whether you can match her energy or even exceed it. When I softened myself around her strength, I was teaching her brain that I wasn't man enough to handle a woman like her. But I didn't understand what was happening yet. The real devastating discovery was still 3 months away. Instead of recognizing the warning signs, I doubled down. I thought the problem was that I wasn't being nice enough, wasn't showing her enough how much I cared. For her birthday, I planned an elaborate surprise party with all her friends. I spent $1,200 on a weekend getaway to a bed and breakfast she had mentioned wanting to visit. I even made a photo album of all our memories together from our handful of dates. Female psychology lesson number 4. Trying to win a woman's love with gifts and grand gestures signals insecurity and neediness, the opposite of attractive masculine traits. She seemed touched by the gesture, but there was something in her eyes. Pity? Discomfort? I couldn't place it then. The weekend getaway was a disaster. I had planned every detail to be perfect, asking her constantly if she was having fun, if she liked the restaurant I chose, if the room was okay. I was seeking her approval for everything. And then came the moment that should have been my wake-up call. When I leaned in to kiss her on the second night, she pulled away and said, "Evans, you're amazing, but I think we should take things slow." Take things slow. After 3 months, I was in the friend zone, and I didn't even know it yet. But Grace didn't disappear from my life. In fact, she started relying on me more than ever. She would call me when she had problems at work. She would text me when she was upset about her family. She would ask me to help her move furniture, fix things in her apartment, and drive her to the airport. I thought this meant we were getting closer. I thought I was building a foundation of trust and friendship that would naturally evolve into romance. Female psychology lesson number 5. When a woman treats you like an emotional support system without reciprocal romantic interest, you've become her unpaid therapist, not her potential partner. What I didn't see was that she was using me as an emotional tampon, absorbing all her negative emotions while she saved her sexual energy for other men. Yes, there were other men, and the way I found out about them nearly destroyed me. Meanwhile, I was becoming more invested, more attached, more convinced that she was the one. I started declining invitations from friends to be available whenever she needed me. I turned down opportunities to meet other women because I was taken, even though we had never actually defined our relationship. 6 months into our relationship, Grace invited me to a party at her friend's house. I was excited because it felt like she was introducing me to her social circle as her boyfriend. But when we arrived, she immediately started talking to this guy named Ben. He was everything I wasn't, slightly arrogant, teasing her, not hanging on her every word. And Grace was transformed around him. She was laughing differently, touching her hair, playfully hitting his arm when he made jokes at her expense. Her whole body language changed. Female psychology lesson number 6. Women respond to emotional strength and confidence with attraction, while emotional weakness and neediness trigger their protection instincts, making them see you as a friend, not a lover. I watched them interact for an hour, feeling something die inside my chest. Ben wasn't buying her drinks. He wasn't asking if she was having fun. He wasn't seeking her approval. He was just being himself, confidently, unapologetically himself. And she was attracted to him in a way she had never been attracted to me. But the real knife to the heart came later that night. On the drive home, I finally worked up the courage to ask the question I had been avoiding for months. "Grace, what are we? I mean, are we dating? Are we exclusive? Where do you see this going?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Maxwell, I care about you so much. You're one of my best friends. But, I just don't feel that spark with you. That chemistry. You're such a good guy, and you're going to make some woman very happy someday. But I think we're better as friends." Female psychology lesson number 7. "You're such a good guy" is often code for "you're not sexually attractive to me." Being good or nice doesn't create desire. I pulled over to the side of the road because my hands were shaking too badly to drive safely. "But we've been spending all this time together," I said. "You call me when you're upset. You lean on me. I've been there for everything. And I'm grateful for that," she said. "You're amazing." But Maxwell, being a good friend doesn't make someone boyfriend material. This is where most men would give up. But I made it so much worse. Instead of accepting her decision with dignity, I did what every desperate friendzone guy does. I tried to convince her she was wrong. "But I love you," I said. "I can give you everything you need. I'll treat you better than any guy ever has. Just give me a chance to show you." Female psychology lesson number 8. Trying to logically convince a woman to be attracted to you only reinforces why she isn't. Attraction isn't a choice, it's a feeling. For the next month, I became everything I now know you should never become. The orbiter. I continued to be her emotional support system, secretly hoping that if I just proved my worth enough, she would eventually see me differently. I would drop everything to help her. When she got sick, I brought her soup and medicine. When her car broke down, I spent my entire Saturday fixing it. When she needed a date to her company Christmas party, I went with her, as a friend. And at that Christmas party, I witnessed something that finally broke me. At the Christmas party, Grace's boss introduced her to a new client, a guy named David. Within 10 minutes of meeting him, Grace was more animated than I had seen her in our entire relationship. David was doing everything I had been taught not to do. He was teasing her about her dress. When she mentioned she was cold, instead of offering her his jacket like I would have, he said, "Well, maybe you should have thought of that before wearing something so impractical." She laughed and playfully hit him. He wasn't trying to impress her. He wasn't seeking her approval. He was challenging her. Female psychology lesson number 9. Women are attracted to men who create sexual tension through playful challenge, not men who try to make their lives easier. I watched them exchange numbers. I watched her face light up when he texted her later that night while we were at dinner. And that's when I snapped. Are you serious right now? I said, you just met this guy 2 hours ago, and you're already more interested in him than you've ever been in me? She looked up from her phone, and for the first time, I saw something new in her eyes, annoyance. Maxwell, we've talked about this. We're friends. Friends don't do what we do, I said, my voice getting louder. Friends don't spend every weekend together. Friends don't call each other crying at 2 a.m. Friends don't. Friends don't what? She interrupted. Support each other? Be there for each other? That's exactly what friends do. What I said next changed everything between us forever. You're using me, I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. You're keeping me around as your emotional support system while you chase guys who don't give a damn about you. Her face went cold. Excuse me. That guy David? He's going to use you and throw you away. But I'm the one who's been here. I'm the one who cares about you. I'm the one who would never hurt you. Female psychology lesson number 10. Pointing out your good qualities to contrast with other men's bad qualities makes you look weak and desperate. High-value men don't need to explain their worth. She stood up from the table. Maxwell, listen to yourself right now. You're acting like I owe you something because you chose to be a good friend to me. That's not how relationships work. Then how do they work? I shouted, not caring that people were staring. Because apparently being a good man means nothing. She looked at me for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice was quiet but devastating. Maxwell, you want to know the truth? You're not a good man. You're a nice guy? And there's a difference. What did she mean by that? The explanation would destroy everything I thought I knew about myself. A good man, she continued, doesn't keep score of his kindness. He doesn't expect sex or romance as payment for being decent. He doesn't manipulate situations by being helpful and then getting angry when it doesn't lead where he wants it to. I never manipulated. You absolutely did. Every time you helped me, you were hoping it would make me see you differently. Every gift, every favor, every time you dropped everything to rescue me. It wasn't because you wanted to help. It was because you wanted to purchase my affection. Female psychology lesson number 11. Genuine kindness is given freely without expectation of return. Transactional niceness is manipulation and women can sense it. The words hit me like physical blows because they were true. And you know what the really sad part is? She said, gathering her purse. If you had just been yourself from the beginning, confident, authentic, not seeking my approval constantly, I might have actually been attracted to you. She stood up to leave, then turned back for one final blow. David isn't more attractive than you because he's better looking or richer or any of that. He's attractive because he doesn't need my validation to feel good about himself. And Maxwell, you do. She left me sitting there, but the real devastating revelation was yet to come. I sat in that restaurant for another hour, replaying every interaction we'd ever had through this new lens. And slowly, sickeningly, I began to see the pattern. Every time I had sought her approval. Are you having fun? Do you like the restaurant? Is this okay? I had been positioning myself as lower value than her. Every time I had softened my masculinity around her strength, not playfully challenging her, not standing my ground when she tested me. I had been teaching her to see me as weak. Every gift, every favor, every rescue mission. I had been trying to purchase something that can't be bought. Genuine desire. Female psychology lesson number 12. Attraction is not logical. It's emotional and biological, triggered by displays of confidence, strength, and authenticity, not niceness. I drove home that night and did something I had never done before. I looked at myself honestly in the mirror, and I didn't like what I saw. But this story isn't over. What happened next would teach me the most important lesson of my life. I spent the next 3 months obsessively researching everything I could about attraction, relationships, and female psychology. I read books, watched videos, studied men who were naturally successful with women. And slowly, a picture emerged that contradicted everything I had been taught about how to treat women. Female psychology lesson number 13. Women are biologically programmed to be attracted to indicators of genetic fitness, confidence, emotional strength, leadership qualities, not providers or caretakers. I learned about something called sexual polarity. The idea that attraction is created by the dance between masculine and feminine energy, not by similarity or compatibility. I discovered that what I had been calling respect for women was actually something else entirely: fear of their judgment. I realized that my constant need for approval was actually a form of emotional neediness that no woman could find attractive. Armed with this new knowledge, I decided to test it. But first, I had to rebuild myself from scratch. I started with the most important lesson: building confidence that didn't depend on external validation. Instead of seeking approval from others, I began developing a strong sense of self-worth based on my own standards and values. I stopped being available to every woman who needed emotional support. I started saying no to requests that felt like I was being used. I began embracing my masculinity instead of softening it. When women tested me or challenged me, instead of backing down, I learned to hold my ground with confidence and humor. Female psychology lesson number 14. Healthy boundaries actually increase attraction because they demonstrate self-respect and emotional independence. Most importantly, I stopped trying to earn desire through good behavior. I learned that attraction isn't a reward for being nice. It's a response to specific psychological triggers. 6 months later, I ran into Grace again. What happened next proved everything I had learned. I was at a bookstore when I heard someone call my name. I turned around, and there was Grace, looking genuinely surprised to see me. But something was different about how she looked at me. Her eyes lingered a moment longer than they used to. Her smile was warmer somehow. "Maxwell, how are you? You look different." I felt different, more grounded, more comfortable in my own skin. And for the first time in our entire history, I wasn't seeking her approval. "I'm good," I said simply, not elaborating or trying to impress her with updates about my life. She seemed to be waiting for me to say more, but I didn't. An interesting silence stretched between us. "So what are you reading?" she asked, glancing at the book in my hand. Instead of the eager, approval-seeking response I would have given before, I simply showed her the cover and said, "Research for a project I'm working on." Female psychology lesson number 15. Mystery and emotional independence create intrigue. Oversharing and seeking connection through conversation kills attraction. What happened next shocked both of us. "Would you like to get coffee?" she asked. "I mean, if you have time. I know you're probably busy." For the first time ever, Grace was seeking my approval. The dynamic had completely flipped. The old me would have immediately said yes and rearranged my entire day around her. The new me had somewhere to be. "I've got about 20 minutes, I said, checking my watch. "There's a place next door." At coffee, she kept trying to restart our old dynamic, telling me about her problems, seeking my emotional support. But instead of immediately jumping into fix-it mode, I listened without getting emotionally invested. "That's tough," I would say, instead of offering to solve everything for her. "How are you handling it?" Instead of "What can I do to help?" Female psychology lesson number 16. Being supportive without being a rescuer maintains attraction. Women want partners, not parents. She seemed confused by my responses, but also intrigued. When my 20 minutes were up, I stood to leave. "Wait," she said, catching my arm. "This was nice. We should do it again sometime." I looked at her hand on my arm, then into her eyes. For the first time in our entire relationship, I saw something I had never seen before: genuine interest. "Maybe," I said with a slight smile and walked away. 3 days later, she texted me, and what she wrote changed everything. Her text said, "I can't stop thinking about our conversation the other day. You seem so much more, I don't know, confident, centered. I'd love to talk more. Are you free for dinner this weekend?" The old me would have immediately said yes and spent the next 4 days planning the perfect evening. The new me had other plans. "I'm free Friday," I replied 3 hours later. "But I'm choosing the place." She agreed immediately. Friday night, I took her somewhere I wanted to go, a small jazz club downtown. I didn't ask if she liked jazz. I didn't seek her approval for the choice. I made a decision and led. Female psychology lesson number 17. Leadership and decisiveness are deeply attractive to women. They signal competence and confidence. At dinner, when she started falling into her old pattern of treating me like her therapist, I redirected the conversation. "You know what I've realized?" I said, interrupting her story about work drama. "We've never actually talked about what you're passionate about. What makes you excited to wake up in the morning?" She looked surprised. I don't know. No one's ever asked me that. That's a shame, I said, holding eye contact. Because passionate people are the most attractive people. She blushed. Actually blushed. By the end of that night, everything between us had changed. But the biggest test was still to come. When I walked her to her car, she lingered, clearly hoping I would kiss her. The old me would have been too afraid of rejection to try. The new me understood that creating sexual tension was my responsibility as a man. I stepped closer, close enough that she had to look up to maintain eye contact. You're different too, I said softly. More honest. I like it. Her breathing changed. The air between us became charged with electricity that had never existed in our friendship. But instead of kissing her, I stepped back. Drive safe, I said, and walked to my car. Female psychology lesson number 18. Creating sexual tension and then pulling back slightly builds anticipation and desire. Being too eager or available kills the chase. I could see her watching me in my rearview mirror as I drove away. She texted me before I got home. That was the best date I've had in years. But I wasn't ready to let her back in yet. She needed to understand something first. Over the next month, Grace pursued me with the same intensity one had once pursued her. She initiated most of our conversations. She made herself available whenever I suggested getting together. She even started asking me for advice about her life. But I had learned the most important lesson of all. Attraction isn't enough. Respect and genuine compatibility matter too. One evening, she brought up our past. I've been thinking about how things were between us before, she said. I feel terrible about how I treated you. You didn't treat me badly, I replied. You just weren't attracted to who I was pretending to be. Pretending. Female psychology lesson number 19. Authenticity combined with confidence is the most attractive combination possible. Being fake nice is worse than being genuinely flawed. I was pretending to be the man I thought you wanted instead of being the man I actually was. I was so afraid of your rejection that I rejected myself first. She was quiet for a long moment. And now I know that if a woman isn't attracted to the real me, she's not the right woman for me. That's when she said something that surprised me. I wish I had met this version of you first. No, I said. You met exactly the version of me you were supposed to meet. Because that version taught me how to become this version. So what happened between us? Did we end up together? The answer might surprise you. Grace and I dated for about 3 months after that. And it was everything our friendship had never been. Passionate, exciting, full of genuine mutual respect and attraction. But ultimately, we realized that we had grown into different people who wanted different things. The breakup was mutual, respectful, and honestly, a relief for both of us. Because I had learned something more valuable than getting the girl. I had learned how to be the kind of man that the right woman would be naturally attracted to. Female psychology lesson number 20. The goal isn't to get any specific woman. It's to become the kind of man that naturally attracts the right woman for you. Today, I'm in a relationship with someone who was attracted to me from day one because I approached her as my authentic, confident self. No games, no manipulation, no trying to earn her desire through good behavior. Just genuine attraction based on who I actually am. If you see yourself in my story, if you've been the nice guy who finishes last, if you've been stuck in friend zones, if you've been trying to purchase love with good behavior, then listen carefully. The problem isn't that you're too nice. The problem is that you're not being authentically yourself. You're playing a character you think women want instead of developing the attractive qualities that actually create desire. Confidence, emotional independence, authenticity, leadership, and the ability to create sexual tension. The transformation I went through wasn't about becoming someone else. It was about becoming the best, most authentic version of myself. And there's a system that can help you do the same thing. With one simple move, you can. Stop losing women that initially liked you because you couldn't play the game. Re-enter the dating scene with confidence at any age. Pass each and every one of women's secret tests. Unlock the Scrambler is the only system that combines eliminating the nice guy behavior ingrained in so many men with the most cutting-edge discoveries of modern psychology. So you can gain the attraction of women, project personal power, and avoid the "let's just be friends" speech for good. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. This is about understanding the psychological triggers that create genuine attraction and developing the authentic masculine qualities that women are naturally drawn to. The link is in the description below. But more importantly, Remember this. You deserve to be with someone who's genuinely attracted to you, not someone you have to convince to want you. The choice is yours. You can keep doing what you've always done and getting the same results, or you can learn what actually works and transform your love life forever. Click the link below and stop being the friend zone guy starting today.